I am so excited to chat with you today, Angela, and I'm excited to record this podcast episode because I've actually been thinking about this for months. Angela, you don't know this, but I'll tell you now as I'm telling everyone who's listening. I've been thinking about talking to you and asking you to be a guest on this podcast for months because I have just been so impressed with you. Your your reasons for wanting, well, let me say this first. Okay, so let me back up. Angela is a client. She was in our 12-week metabolic resuscitation system coaching program, did phenomenally well, and then had more goals that she wanted to continue her journey. And she and I chatted, and she joined our next level coaching program. And so she's kind of stuck with me for a while as a coach. And I'm really thrilled that she is stuck with me for a while. But what I was saying a minute ago before I kind of jumped the gun is that I've just really been thinking about how I couldn't wait to get to the point where I could say, "Hey, Angela, will you be a guest on my podcast?" Because I think your story is one that so many people will relate to and see it as like the hope for them. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but I want you to start by telling everybody a little bit about who you are and like what got you to reach out and contact me about coaching in the first place.
I was scrolling through Facebook and you get all these ads that pop up on Facebook. And I think I have answered a lot of ads, a lot of weight loss ads, to be honest with you. The quick fix, how to get there fast.
Yeah.
Um, then an advertisement, not really an advertisement, but a little picture came up with this blonde woman and says, "You don't have to diet." And I'm like, sure, don't have to diet. Okay. But I was curious and I clicked in on it and it was to join the wellness group.
Yeah.
And I signed up for it and I would see little tidbits and videos that you would put on there to the day that you announced a belly bloat uh, video, and I signed up for it. And after that, I was like, wait, this is completely different. She's not telling you what you have to do, she's guiding you in what to choose.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
that's what got me started.
I love that. And that's the first that you've shared that with me. And so I'm so glad that you did. First off, let me tell anyone who's listening, Angela's talking about the free total wellness community that I have for it's open to any woman over 40, professional driven women who are busy, who really are very successful and have kind of, all their ducks in a row in a lot of ways in life, but they've they're kind of stumped with my body is changing, whether it's perimenopause, whatever it is. I've been struggling with my body, my weight, stress, energy is down, those kinds of things. And so that group, we have over 5,000 women in that group now, and it's just a free community where you can come. It's a safe space. It is a private community, but you can apply to join it. There's a couple of questions. It's just, so we can make sure we keep the guys out and we keep, weirdo spammers out. But you get in there, and then I have lots of free resources and videos and all kinds of tips and recipes and all kinds of things. And so she originally saw a post, I guess, that I made about that and joined that total wellness community. And then the Banish the Bloat challenge that you first jumped into was one of my 3-day free groups that I offer a couple times a year. And so I'm glad the timing worked out for you to do it. But yeah, and I think it's a really important point that you make too, that part of what I do that's different is that I am a guide. I call myself kind of a coach, a mentor, a guide. I like the term guide, frankly, but I am a guide. I'm not here to say, "Here, this is what you do," And this is going, these things are going to get you results, but I want to guide you in how to implement those things so that you actually make real change. And to me, that's the difference between a lot of these kinds of programs that you're talking about, the quick fixes, the, out of the box kind of programs where it's just like, here, do these things and you'll lose some weight. And you don't really get the help with how to implement them in a real way so that it just becomes part of real life. And so any of you guys listening, that's a plug for you to join our total wellness group. It's an amazing community. Like I said, with over 5,000 women now. And there are lots of free resources. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I'll drop in the episode notes the link for you to join that group over on Facebook. And before anyone thinks, oh, well, I don't do social media or I don't care for Facebook, a lot of women create a Facebook account and they even use a fake name just so they can join that group. So you're welcome to do that too. So nobody has to, you don't have to create your own, actual personal Facebook account. But I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because so often I think women do see these quick fixes, these ads, these promotions, sale pages, whatever, for products, pills, powders, programs, you name it. And you're gun shy, right? Because you're like, I've tried that, I've done this, I've paid for that. It's you get to a point where you're like, throw your hands up and say, like, I'm done with all of this because it's all a bunch of deceptive junk. And part of why I do the Banish the Bloat groups and I do them free is because I want women to see that here is a taste of how I coach. Here's a taste of the kinds of methods that I teach. And it is actually proven and it really works. And so here you can get in and you can kind of test the water for free and get a sense of what it's like to work with me too, because I don't want to work with anybody who isn't a good fit, right? So you can get an idea of like what kind of crazy personality I have and be like, okay, this broad is totally nuts and I don't want to have anything to do with her. Or yeah, that's cool. I like that quirkiness and let me jump on board. And so you did the Banish the Blow, knew how different it was, saw how great things, can be, and that there really is hope for a real change. And then you set a call with me and we chatted about like, what is it that you need to do? What are your goals? What are your challenges? So share with people a little bit about like, what were you struggling with?
I was struggling with my weight, and I'm not, it's like I said, since menopause, perimenopause into menopause, I noticed my scale was going up, 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 and it was not stopping. And it got to, in my mind, it got to a point where it was like, okay, enough is enough. How do I stop this? And my struggle was not understanding how to lose the weight because I've tried everything and it was successful to a point, and then it was back and more.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was just frustrated. And honestly, to a point where I do not own a mirror, a full length mirror in
Mm.
my house. I will not. But by the end of this year, my goal is to have a beautiful
Oh,
floor length mirror in my house.
I love that. I love that. And that's an indication of where this conversation is going, because I will tell you now, one of the reasons that I've had in my mind for months that I wanted to have this conversation with you is because yeah, you were frustrated, you were struggling with how do I get this weight off? And I remember vividly you saying, I want to lose 10 to 15 pounds. So it wasn't like you had 50, 60 pounds to lose.
No,
Enough was enough because you saw the writing on the wall. I might lose a little bit doing some of these things, but it was coming right back. More was coming on. And so you wanted to nip the problem in the bud. And I got that, and that's great, and so many of the women that we work with have that same kind of sentiment. But from early on, you said things to me like, "This is also about me, like, seriously changing. This is about me really learning how to be consistent, how to stick with this, how to live a healthy lifestyle. And that was really impressive. But then it went even further. And you would engage in the community of women. Our clients have a private community where just the women who we're working with one on one take part in this community. And we work with them one on one too, but they can get to know each other and they can, share struggles and share victories and celebrate and all of these things. And when you shared in that group, it's hard to like put my finger on when it was, but there was a point in time where I was like, I saw this shift in your mindset. And this journey became more about or alongside of the healthy part of losing weight and managing menopause, it also became a bit of a self-discovery journey is what it looked like to me. And I was watching you kind of evolve and this self-discovery unfold. So if you don't mind, I know there wasn't really a question in that, but can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about like what was that like on the inside? Did you see that? Did you recognize it in yourself? What were you thinking? Like what kind of led you that direction? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I can tell you exactly how it started. I was doing my weigh in. It was my Sunday weigh in. And I weighed in and I saw that my weight went up. And I sat down and I was talking to my guy that morning. We were eating breakfast. And I sat down and tears just started falling.
Mm.
And he's like, "Well, why are you crying?" And I says, "I don't know, but something in me broke because at that moment was when I realized I am so sorry. I'm getting emotional.
No, it's fine.
That moment was when I realized it's not the weight. It's not the weight. The lessons that Lori has in this program gets you to think. And when you start thinking and start realizing so much emotion was coming up out of me, I didn't understand. And now I'm to the point where I wanted to find out where my brain was actually going
Yeah.
because my body isn't going anywhere
Yeah.
until this is going where it needs to go.
Yeah. That's the shift that I saw in you, and that is so beautiful to me as a coach, because that's what I've designed, that's what I want to happen, and so when I see that, it's almost like this light comes on and your mindset just completely begins to change, right? And
Yes.
what I tell you guys all the time, and it takes a little bit longer for some than others, but what I tell you is when you lean into shifting your mindset, when we really start to unpack and process through the emotional tugs that are weighing you down, those weights that are weighing you down, and that's different for everybody. Those weights are different for everybody. But when we start to unpack that and through those lessons like you talked about, that's where we start to do that real work at the same time that you're working on your physical too, right? But
Yes.
when you do that, what happens is your mind starts to release the weight of those things. And you start to see kind of that light at the end of the tunnel. There's a crack in the door, and your body follows your mind. And it is part of the chains that truly your mind can have chains on your body and stop it from moving forward. It can halt your health journey. It can halt your weight loss. And a lot of times we talk about it in terms of stress and the cortisol levels, and there is some science to that for sure. But the power of our minds to either help or hinder this journey with our bodies is so extremely the two are so extremely connected. It is really almost hard to describe to anybody how that works. And you felt it and it came boiling up in that emotion that day. And then kind of take us forward from there. So you realized And then was it that you dove right into those? Was it, more of a slow evolution over time, or kind of take us through that a little bit more through that journey for you?
From that moment on was when I decided to stop saying I can't and how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
Is this really going to work? To I can. Oh, this is going to last. And yes, it does work
Yeah.
because I am to the point now where I'm now past the 12 weeks, of course, and now into the next level. But I am now to the point where I look at myself and all I can say, ladies, all I can say is when you step on that scale and you see that 1 pound up, don't look at it as a gain, but look at it as a gain of confidence because you took the step to get on that scale.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, once the mind is with that and it's just a number, it's just a number. It's a gauge. That's all that is. It's a
Yeah.
gauge. Just take that and know that when you look in that mirror after you step off of that scale, you are a beautiful, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And that's what I kept telling myself. And this is not something that I had to convince myself every day to get to believing it because they always say, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Mm-mm.
Truly believe because once you believe, once that belief system kicks in, there's nothing you can look in the mirror and you're not going to see anything that you saw before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see
And
a beautiful body, a beautiful woman.
yeah. I love that, don't fake it till you make it. I've been guilty of saying that in years past too. And for me, the switch came very much like you're describing. But a colleague of mine, an amazing soul, said one time, I think I was at a conference that he was speaking at, and he said, "Don't fake it until you make it. Be it until you see it." And there's some real power, and I won't go into all the nerdy stuff behind it, but there's some real science and power behind, and evidence of this power that says, it's based in this whole idea that your mind is such a powerful tool for moving you forward in so many different ways. And that's what we're talking about when I say be it until you see it, because I've stolen that from him. That's exactly what I mean. The belief that you're talking about, like standing in that presence of that belief, owning that identity, being that person who loves herself, being that person who eats healthy, being that person who moves, who just lives a healthy lifestyle. When you do the things that she would do, you own her, you become her. And then the results come from that, right? There's a lot
Yes.
of research on this same idea, but it's kind of focused in the idea of visualization, right? And I'm a sports freak, so I'll kind of use this analogy. It is the same kind of thing that athletes do when they are visualizing success, right? They're visualizing, Olympians do it when they're visualizing that race or whatever competition that they're in. Professional athletes, NBA players, NFL players, softball player, every athlete who is successful, or many of them, I should say, will tell you that they incorporate visualization techniques. And there are studies that show that an athlete who visualizes himself, for example, throwing free throws, shooting free throws, and he visualizes the ball going into the basket. They've done studies where that visualization can be as effective for increasing their success and percentage of free throw shots as the player who goes and stands out on the court and actually shoots and practices over and over and over, right? And then the players who put that together and actually visualize and do the work of putting the reps in have an even higher success than either of them. And so all of that to say, there is truly science behind what you're saying. When you just believe wholeheartedly, and I know it takes time, right? It's not something you just wake up and do, but when you believe wholeheartedly and then you act in that way as the person who believes, you come along with it. Your mind and your body come right along with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's such an amazing thing. Well, and I know you've had, we talked about kind of emotional weight of things. You've had a lot of things in your life that you've overcome them, but it's almost like this next level overcoming story to me. And I think it's a really beautiful next evolution of who you are. And it's one of the things that I want for everybody. But one of the things that you said to me when we talked last, Angela, and I'd love for you to speak to this, is you said to me, you know, part of this journey, you said, is that now I'm at a space where this has been a journey of me getting to know Angela. And you know what? You said, I really like her. And
Yes.
that just, I could have burst into tears, and I don't want to get emotional right now, but I could have burst into tears because I was like, yes, yes. That is such an amazing thing to witness in you. Talk a little bit about how that feels and how that part of this journey has been.
I hated myself. And I hate to say that word, but I did. And not realizing it, to be honest with you. I lived most of my life hating me because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy. I was told that. So I believed it.
Yeah.
And therefore, um, ever since I was a little girl, I went through a lot of struggles in life. And a lot of things was my fault. And therefore, that little girl inside me stayed.
Yeah.
And all that emotion and all that around me is what built me to who I was up till about a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And as I was delving into these lessons and learning a little bit more, the funny thing to me was is I was all in for this wait. And but it is the wait too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, it's a plus that that is happening as well. But it also, like you said, it shifted me in another direction that I honestly did not expect to go.
Yeah.
And as I was going there, I was growing. And as I was growing up. And that person that resented anything and everything was falling away. And I was loving the person I was becoming.
Oh
And that's
gosh.
when I started realizing when I look in the mirror before, gosh, I can't even tell you because I'm just, I can look in the mirror now and say, you got this. And guess what? You are fantastic. There is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with you. And you are perfect the way God made you to be.
Oh,
And I love myself more and more every day.
that is just, I mean, my heart just wants to explode right now listening to you, because I'm so happy for you. I'm so very proud of you for leaning in, because that's not easy. It's not easy to lean into those emotions. We resist it, I think, from a perspective of it because it feels so hard. It is a change. It makes us feel so vulnerable. And so it's totally understandable the resistance that a lot of us feel. But when you lean into it and the change that you are experiencing from it is just such a beautiful gift. It really is difficult to put words to it. And watching it, it makes me so happy for you. I'm so proud of you for doing that really tough work and continuing to do it. Not saying,
Mhm.
oh, I'm done, but being open to like all the gifts that it's bringing you, and it's just beautiful to watch. What would you say, and thank you so much for sharing this with people, because I think this is going to be so relatable to so many of you guys watching this. I'd love for you to leave a comment under this episode and write something to Angela for sharing, and I will definitely make sure that she hears it. But I'd love to hear your stories too. But what would you say, Angela, to someone who's listening to this right now, the woman who is kind of right now she's sitting where you were and not liking what she sees in the mirror, and let's make sure that we're clear. Angela is happy, successful. This is not like, she was this miserable human being when she came to me, right? But a lot
Right.
of women, that's a lot of women's stories. They go out about their day, they go to work, everybody from the outside thinks everything is fine, but they know that there's something inside that just isn't right. It's not sitting right with them. What would you say to her listening to this, and to let her know that it's okay? Or just what would you say to her?
What got me to open up to myself was to journal.
Mm,
And when I started journaling, I started writing down my thoughts.
mhm,
And most of my thoughts that I was writing down weren't positive at all. They weren't kind at all.
mhm.
And I thought, how can I take this thought and turn it into, you know what? This is what I'm going to say. Whatever emotional feeling you have, write that down and feel it.
Yeah,
And once you feel it, go through it. You have to. You have to go through it because that's the only way you're going to heal
yeah,
from it. So once you do that and you feel it and you're healing, then you're going to take an action. And that action is going to be, what are you going to do next? And what I did is I started taking all that journaling down and feeling and taking it and turning it around and be kind. And the one thing that you said, one video that I watched, was is that grace.
mm,
Give yourself that grace.
yeah,
And when I heard that, it was like, you're absolutely right. I don't do that.
yeah,
And that's what helped me was the journaling and literally writing down everything, because you're always thinking, you always have a thought. And
mhm.
99% of the time, when you write those thoughts down, you're going to see how more negative you are to yourself than you are positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is some writing that's involved in this program. There's some reading that's involved in this program, because I'm really transparent about that. I tell you guys when I talk to you all that, this is not just about food and fitness. This is about the psychology of it. This is about the emotional side of us, because we are not just physical beings, but we're emotional and psychological beings. And when we get to this transitional stage in life, especially with the hormone flux and all the things that are happening from a chemical, perspective in our bodies, all the emotional and psychological just kind of ramps up, and it can be raw, and it can be very vulnerable and difficult. But going through the process, the 12-week process especially, I try to get you to tap into those things without it being too hard, right? Too emotionally hard, but also so that it fits in. So those of you who are listening, don't be scared off by, oh my gosh, she makes us read and write. Like I didn't was thinking about joining her program, but I didn't know I was gonna be in a grad class. It's not like that. It's not like that. But they are super effective ways of getting you to dig into that and examine some of that from a raw perspective. And you don't have to share it with everybody in the group, but I have little sneaky teacher ways of getting you to look at it closely, and it in a meaningful way too, so that it can help you to start to heal. And I love that. What about women who are sitting there thinking, well, I've seen Lori for a while, and I'm in that total wellness group too, or maybe they're not, and her social media Facebook posts pop up, but I just don't know. I'm scared to do anything. What would you say to them?
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Go into it. You know what? If anything, just take that chance. Just
Yeah.
take that chance. That's all you can do is just give it that chance. And to be honest with you, um, I lost my train of thought there for a moment.
That's
I got too
okay.
excited. Um, but I would say don't hesitate. I did that. I can't tell you how many times I would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it." But I'll be honest, when I first started this and there was some writing assignments, the first thing I thought was, "Oh, I don't
Yeah.
I don't have time for this." But it's not as bad as it sounds. It really isn't. It's more of a thought process,
Yeah.
and it gets you to think, because that's exactly what it started doing for me. It started making, because you're not going to lose that weight, ladies, if you don't get this in the right place.
Yep. Yep.
And you really do have to. You can lose weight, yes, but if this is not in the right place, it's going
Yep.
to come right back on.
Yep. And she, for those of you just listening to the audio, Angela's pointing to her head. You know, if you get your head and your mind in the right place, your body truly does follow. And yeah, you'll lose some weight without that work. And that's why, those kind of big industry sorts of programs work. Quote unquote, my air quotes. If you're listening, I'm doing air quotes. The women who tell me, "Well, I've done Weight Watchers 5 times and it worked for me every time." And I'm like, "Really? Did it work? If you had to do it 5 times, is that really how it works?" And that's the thing. You know what the missing piece for so many of us, especially at this stage of life, is the mindset work. It is that emotional psychological work, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud of that makes our 12-week metabolic program different, because I really should change the name of it to being the metabolic and mindset resuscitation program, because it really is about jumpstarting your head too, right? I love
Yes.
that. I love that. And when you lean into it the way you have, Angela, the beautiful things that come from it are truly unlimited. And I just absolutely adore you for sharing the story, because it is truly, I think of you as truly an inspiring story of overcoming. And there's no telling what this will take you to, and the links of love and who knows what in your life will come from this. And I applaud you, because you've dug in, you've done the work, you're doing the work. It's not past tense. She's still working with me. And I want to give kudos to your success coach too, for supporting you along the way. That's one thing that you will not want for support when you work with us, because you have me there for you. You have your success coach. You have the community of women, beautiful, amazing people all over the country for the most part, even all over the world. I've had clients in various parts of the world, and it's just a really great community of women and people like you. I have to give the credit, Angela, for it being that way, because it's really about the women who are there and you doing the work on yourself. And I just absolutely applaud you. And I can't tell you how much I adore you. Thank you
No,
so
thank you.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being here today and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. Those of you who are listening or watching on YouTube to this episode, thank you so much for being here. As always, I always appreciate the time that you spend with me and with us on these interview kinds of podcast episodes. And take a look in the show notes. I will have some links for you. I will Just a reminder, I'll drop the link to that total wellness community, that free community for women over 40 who are struggling with these kinds of issues and just want some tips and tricks and advice that are research based. And I will make sure that there is a link to my call calendar too, because, if you take Angela's advice today and bet on yourself, it there is doesn't cost you a dime to click that link and schedule a call with me, and we can have a conversation and I can chat with you and even tell you if this is a good fit for you, that would look like to work with us. If it's not a good fit for you, I'll tell you that too. But you don't have anything to lose by setting up a time to chat with me, because I promise I don't bite, do I?
No, and you will thank your future self for doing exactly
Ab
that.
Absolutely, you will. I love that. I love that. Well, thanks again, Angela. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and
Thank
I
you.
will see you in our group.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.